I do not keep track of my subscribers. I think 0. Okay, so looking at the Simplifying Radicals worksheet, problem number 1. Problem number 1 is already completed for you. The answer's already there, but I'm going to show you how they got it. So problem number 1, what we have is the square root of 48. I'm going to do it on this paper. So I'm going to write my problem. I have the square root of 48. Anytime you're simplifying a radical, we are breaking it down. We're trying to break it down into its smallest pieces as possible, the small tiny little factors, the prime numbers. So with the square root of 48, I'm going to create my little factor tree to break this down. Oh, and I don't want to turn it. You can write it in the margins of the worksheet or on the back side, wherever. So for 48, what multiplies to give me 48? 8 and what? 8 times?
8 times 6.
Okay, 8 times 6. So the fallback here is if you have an even number, like 48's an even number, you can always start with 2's. Your list gets kind of long that way, but 2 is always a good fallback. So if we have 8 times 6, I'm going to cross off 48 because I broke it apart. I don't need it anymore. Now I'm going to break apart 8. 8 is what? 4 times 2. Okay? I can still break apart my 4 further. So 4 is 2 times 2. Okay, I'm going to cross off the 4 and I'm going to cross out the 8 because I broke both of those apart. The last thing I have to break down is the 6. So 6 is going to break down to be 3 times 2. Okay, and I'm going to scratch out the 6. Once I have all those tiny little factors, those prime numbers, now I'm going to go through and I'm looking for pairs. So for this particular problem, do I have any pairs? Yes, I have a pair of 2's at the bottom of the list, and I have this pair of 2's. They're not sitting next to each other, but they still count as a pair. So now I'm going to, this is problem number 1. I'm going to rewrite my square root symbol, my radical. Anything that has a pair gets to go where? Inside or out? On the outside. Anything that has a pair goes on the outside. So here, if I have my first pair of 2's, I have one pair. So how many 2's am I going to write? One pair gets 1, 2. So for my first pair, I'm going to write a 2 here. My second pair is going to be another 2. Does that make sense? There were 2 pairs, so 2 2's. Hold on, we'll get there. What number was not circled? 3. So my 3 stays inside my radical. All of the numbers when I did my factor tree are connected by what operation? They're all connected through multiplication. So these 2's on the outside are connected how? Multiplication. You guys were already picking up on that. So on the outside, 2 times 2 will give me 4 square roots of 3. Now, for your original problem, they did have it where it was set up to equal n square roots of s. So the way that they figured out what n and s was is they just matched this up. We said it was 4 square roots of 3. I can't write. So that means n was 4 and s was 3. That's how they got that final answer on your worksheet. All right, so let's look at problem number 2. We're going to look at problem number 2, and I'm going to give you a different way to think about this afterwards. So with problem number 2, again, just looking at your worksheet, problem number 2 is the square root of 56 equals d square roots of h. So we're trying to figure out what is d and h for problem number 2. Okay? So I'm going to take 56 and I'm going to break it down. What multiplies to give me 56? 8 and 7. So I scratch out the 56. Now I can break down 8. 8 is 4 times 2. So I scratch off the 8. I can still break apart my 4. 2 times 2. And I scratch off the 4. I can't break apart 7 any further. It's 7 times 1, and I don't care about 1s. So now that I have my list, my small factors, are there any pairs? Yes, I have a pair of 2's at the bottom of my list. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to rewrite my problem, I'm going to write my square root, my radical symbol. If I have one pair of 2's, how many 2's do I get to write on the outside? 1, 2. So 1, 2's on the outside because I had that pair. What numbers were not circled? 7 and there was a 2 that wasn't circled. They are both stuck inside that radical. How are they connected to each other? Multiplication, just like everything else in this factor tree. So this final answer would be 2 square roots of 14.